pass you notice with any pass she does, well, I always have concave shoulders. I can always move and follow my partner along the mat very easily. Okay, that's super important when you're playing bottom position to always have the ability to roll your shoulders forward so you can move easily along the mat. Okay, because ultimately, if she's standing over me, it's going to be hard for me to match her movement. Or I can do a little bit better when I roll the shoulders forward. I can follow her much better side to side and forwards and backwards. Let's talk about how we can hide our jaws from a crossface. Just as strikers hide their jaws from punches, like so, we need to be able to hide our jaws from crossfaces. Right? Now, what does this mean? Like we spoke about, every guard pass besides passes to north-south involve your partner controlling your head and your shoulders. So if you raise your head and expose your jaw to a crossface, it's going to be really easy for your partner to control your head, provided they can get close to you. So if my partner's passing me, my partner's passing me on this side, and she outflanks me, and she drops down to a situation where now she can control my head, and she can get a clean bite on my jaw with the crossface, it's going to be hard for me to escape from here. Because now, as she goes to lock her hand, even if when she locks her hand, now as I go to escape from here, my jaw gets caught under on my partner's crossface here. So now, as I go to escape, I feel like I'm pushing my partner onto me, and you're making the crossface tighter when you got to move around. Okay, even if I have a hand inside, for example, you see from here when she goes to crossface, my hand basically gets stuck inside, and even though I have the inside position, it's hard because I'm not hiding my jaw from the crossface at all. But if you contrast this with a situation where I hide my jaw from the crossface, now when she goes to start to put pressure on me, I can clear the crossface off and look to bring everything back inside. So you have to be able to tuck your jaw inside your shoulders and hide your jaw from the crossface so your partner can't get a strong purchase on the crossface. If I'm just here and I have convex shoulders and open shoulders and there's space between my jawline and my shoulder, you're always going to be exposed for heavy crossfaces on both sides. The best example of this is from a half guard. You see people get caught in half guard and you're like, I can't move from here. Yes, because your shoulders are flat, number one, and number two, your partner has a very strong crossface. If you see from here, you see my partner has a great bite on this entire side of my face with the crossface. Okay, my jaw is completely exposed to the crossface. So now, when I gotta move my partner around, it feels hard. If I try to off balance my partner to my left, I just push her shoulder into my own face, and you feel like it just gets tighter. But when I hide my jaw from the crossface, and I tuck my jaw inside my own shoulder, and I look down towards my partner's collarbones, now, when she goes to give me a strong crossface, her shoulder slides along my face and off my jaw. Here, it just pushes in under my jaw. She has the inside position with the shoulder. And now, as I go to push, I just push her up into my jaw, and into my face, and into my neck. This is no good. Whereas when I hide the jaw from the crossface, now her shoulder glides along my face and up off the top of my head. So when she goes to hold me from here, the crossface always comes off. If she holds as tight as she can from here, and she has good exposure with the crossface, there's no way I'm ever going to move her anywhere. If she holds as tight as she can, and I have the crossface, my jaw hidden when she goes to hold me, she slides off every time. Okay? So, why is this important? Because your partner's entire goal is to control your head and your shoulders. So if she gets close to me and she gets close to a guard pass, she's always going to have to go from loose passing to tight passing. If she can't control my head and my shoulders, and she can't get a strong purchase on a crossface, she's never going to pass me. All right, so as she goes to start passing me, I'm always hiding my jaw from that crossface. Okay, you see there's a big difference from here. My hands are in the same position, and she puts a strong crossface where her bicep makes contact underneath my jaw now. There's a huge difference from this and this. Now when she goes to crossface me, I can always clear the crossface, and I can always bring everything back inside. Okay? You have to have concave shoulders with an ability to hide your jaw from strong crossfaces. This is super important again. All right, so we're gonna look at seated versus loose passing when someone's standing above me. Now, a lot of this is gonna look familiar because we went over this in depth in the seated guard instructional. But nonetheless, this is a very important aspect of guard retention. Okay, because ultimately, if you're seated, someone's in front of you, they can't control your head, and your feet are pointing right towards them. So if you can stay seated and you just want to retain guard, there's no way anyone could ever pass your guard without actually flattening you out first. So just strictly guard retention, not even talking about attacks. If you just don't want anyone to pass your guard, just stay seated. Now, it's of course hard to stay seated against a talented opponent. They're splitting the legs, they're outflanking you, they're pushing your shoulders, they're lifting your ankles. But if you just want to not get your guard passed, just stay seated, because it ensures that your feet will always point towards your partner, and it will ensure that your partner can never control your head and shoulders and pin them on the floor. Okay, so we're going to look at an overview now of what we're going to be looking at. Our partner's going to be standing up in front of us. Okay, and again, if your partner tries to control your head from here, you can always clear the grips. If she goes to punch in an underhook from here, she's so far away that I can always pommel hands back inside. And the whole time my feet are always pointing right towards my partner. So I just want to stay seated, and as she gets to start passing my guard from here, the first thing she has to do is either outflank me, which we'll look at that, split my legs, which we'll look at that, or put my back on the floor. So there's prerequisites that she has to think about before she can even think about passing. She has to do one of those things: split my legs, outflank me, or put my back on the floor. And if you can just stay seated, there's no way anyone can actually pass your guard. Okay. So now, a general overview of what we're going to be looking at is, number one, how to keep legs inside. Okay. Ultimately, what we want when we're working in a seated guard is to have my feet inside of her legs, where we can start going into various off balances, various attacks into my partner's legs, and things like that. Okay. So how can I keep two of my legs inside of my partner's? Again, always looking for constant contact, because it is her standing and I'm grounded. We're always looking to get some kind of contact with my partner and look to start going in and off balancing and getting into all of our attacks. So how can I keep two legs inside against a talented opponent so she can't even begin to start passing me? All right. Then we're going to look at when our partner steps a leg inside or attempts to step a leg inside, how can I pommel my feet back to the inside position? So as she's going to step, I can start blocking her and then looking to pommel inside. If she does step inside, how can I recover and bring my legs back to the inside position? Okay. If my partner starts to flank me, what can I look to start doing? So let's say we're seated here. Now my partner goes to start flanking me. How can I look to recover and look to go into a situation where I always can make contact with my partner? I'm seated, she can't control my head and my shoulders, and I can keep my feet pointing towards her. We can start to go into attacks. Okay. So we're going to look at how can we initially keep our feet inside, looking at different stances and how we can make contact with our partner. How can we recover the inside position when she steps inside? Okay, because every movement that she makes where she splits my legs or outflanks me, she's getting closer and closer to a guard pass. Okay, so if I can keep her in front of me with contact and my feet inside, she can never pass me from here. Just go try to pass me. She'll never pass me if I have this position here. She has to pommel a foot inside. She has to outflank me. She has to put my shoulders on the floor. She has to do something before she can start to pass me. So strictly talking about retention, staying seated is one of the best options. So we're going to look at keeping feet inside, recovering the inside position, and what we do when our partner starts flanking us and putting us on our back like so. How can we recover to a seated position? Right, because ultimately, if she goes to flank me here, and I fall down to not create back exposure, now she's past my hip line. This is no good. Okay, so strictly talking about retention and going into counterattacks, what can we do from a seated position to stop our partner just blowing past our legs or putting us on our back and starting to work for passes from there? All right, so when you're in a situation where you're seated versus a standing opponent, there's always an important question that we should be asking ourselves. And we're going to do questions like this for each subdivision of each subsection of our instructional today. All right. Every time we move to a different section, we're going to have an important question that we're going to be thinking about while we're in this certain given position. All right. The question you should be asking yourself when you have someone standing in front of you when you're seated, when you're talking about not only retention but retention and attacking, because they're one and the same. Okay? You can't just retain guard. You have to not get your guard pass, but also attack your partner. So the question you should be asking yourself is, how can I keep my partner directly in front of me and ultimately get my 2 feet inside of her legs before she splits my legs, outflanks me, or puts my back on the floor? Okay, because ultimately those are her goals. She wants to split my legs, outflank me, or put my back on the floor. If she splits my legs, she can put my back on the floor, or she can enter into my legs or submissions. If she outflanks me, she can create back exposure, or I have to forcibly put my back on the floor to not get my back taken. Or if she just lifts my ankles and puts my back on the floor, then she can start her passing. So as far as your retention purposes, my questions are, how can I create constant kazushi from here, keeping my partner in front of me, creating contact with my partner, and ultimately get my 2 feet inside of my partner's legs? Because everything you do from a seated guard is going to be ashigarami X guard based. Okay, you saw, obviously everyone from our team do it. You saw Marcel do it. His whole goal is always to get 2 feet inside of his partner's legs. Okay, so that's the main thing that we should be asking ourselves when we're seated versus standing and our partner's loose passing us. Okay, now if she moves to a tight passing situation, it changes. Okay, now if she drops down and goes into a body lock, now my whole thing is how can I off balance and keep my partner from controlling my head, forcing me into a half guard, things like that. And we'll talk about that later. But when you're talking about just seated versus standing, it's always, how can I keep this person in front of me with my feet pointing towards them? And ultimately, how can I get my 2 feet inside of my partner's knees and dominate the space between her knees before she splits my legs, outflanks me, and puts my back on the floor? Okay? And if you can just think about this simple question and come up with answers through certain techniques, everything will become much easier. Again, this is going to look a little familiar because we went over it in seated guard, but as far as retention goes, it's very important that we look at what stances we play versus what stances our partner plays. Okay, what we can't have is a situation where I'm seated square, my partner has staggered legs, and then she just shoots past my guard, she outflanks me, the next thing you know, I'm getting my guard passed. Okay, this is a retention series, so we have to be able to stop that initially to create contact and get our feet inside. Okay, so let's look at stances. My partner can play with one of 3 stances, and she can play these interchangeably. She can go right lead forward, she can go left lead forward, or she can go square, like so. Okay, or obviously she can drop to her knees, but then we're tight passing. Right, when she's standing, she can play with one of these 3 stances. There's no reason, okay, and you see it all the time at the highest levels. I'm going to stress this again. There's absolutely no reason for the top player to be playing with a square stance like this. It doesn't make any sense. All right, you don't see wrestlers ever standing in a square stance for long amounts of time. You can do it. You can move to a square stance and then move back to a staggered stance. You see strikers do this a lot, where guys square their stance to throw punches and then move back to a staggered stance. But you should always be in a situation where you're staggered, so you can move quickly and you can start to flank people to given sides. Okay, and in addition, you deny me centerline exposure from going into attacks. When she's square, like so, now she can only move quickly from side to side, but she can't move diagonally past my hip line like so. She has to stagger her legs. If she goes to take a cross step, she has to move into a stagger stance anyway. Okay, so you're just giving yourself that extra step that you have to do if you start square. So when she's in a square stance, number one, it doesn't give her the ability to outflank me and move in the direction that she wants. She can only move quickly in this direction along that plane, but she can't move past my hip line. And she creates a situation where there's a massive amount of centerline exposure from here. So it's very easy for me to off balance and go into my attacks and start to hit kazushis, where now she has to step out to avoid that, and now it allows me to get connection to my partner's lead leg. Okay. The idea behind this is people are afraid of leg locks. So they think, okay, if I stand with both my legs far away, my partner